I'm Etzion from Haifa, Israel. Today, the 23rd of August 2025. As usual, we start musical piece. This time dedicated to Michael Jackson. It's a tribute to Michael Jackson. For group, here we performed the ruins of St. Anna Cathedral from the 12th century, the Crusade temple. There's the ruins on the roof, and this is a statue here, statue of Santa Anna, some female Christian saint. What's her story? I don't remember. Enjoy now. We're playing a selection of Michael Jackson songs. Amazing Michael Jackson. Only when I didn't appreciate him so much, only after I started to study his music, and then you realize the magnitude of his genius. Quite unbelievable, in a way. How he put all this together, put these melodies and harmonies. I don't know how to do it. And thanks to this group of people, again and again, I used to mention it each time. Here we have a small group of people, between 30 to 40, working all together or together with as much harmony in a chord as much as they can do with all the human qualities and our egos, separative egos. Still, all of us are focused on the conductress, Maestro Shiri Kahana. She's a very able conductor, so to conduct the youth ensemble of Israel, quite an honorable position, and wish her all the best. And now we'll continue a little bit, getting the genesis story, the attempt to reconstruct humanity, keep on sharing the story, even we know that the whole thing was failed. But first attempt is on, because we are alive on earth. The laws of creation, refuse to accept this failure, which would cause a total extinction of humanity from the cosmic game, or maybe the entire creation, because there's no point of the creation without humanity. Or we are the humans, only it's just a small part of the cosmic game. And there are more worlds with humans who do the job. They can do without us. At least it's my understanding. Don't say that and what I'm sharing with you, my understanding, doesn't mean that this is the word of God. It's my understanding, my insights. Take it as you wish. The point is, I'm visiting Baba groups here and there, listen to what they say, and I have friends on the Facebook, and I keep on receiving the non-stop complaints, judgments, what the world situation is this and that, why all these wars and why all these things, and we don't understand that we had the opportunity, all of us, special people shared in this attempt to reconstruct the spiritual government on the face of the earth, and judgments, what's happening when we judge, and say something good or bad, we told the Lord of the creation, he doesn't know how to run the business. He doesn't know what to do, what he's doing. Otherwise, everything will be quiet. We'll be happy egoists. This is usually the many spiritual people they want. Well, you created this so we'll enjoy ourselves. How come there is so much suffering? You don't understand. If you go against the law and broke the law, or you told Mr. God, go away from here, we do a better job. That's how it looks. We can complain and do only to ourselves. All the people are complaining. And judging, they tell the Lord, you're incompetent, you don't know what you're doing. That's what it is. We read the book of Genesis a little bit, the story of Joseph, you call it Joseph. He was a head, he was a conductor of the spiritual symphony, which we call the Children of Israel. You saw this just now, this piece of music. There was the 12 tribes. There should be 11 tribes. Joseph was supposed to be the conductor of the orchestra. Actually, he had two children. His two children were among the 12 tribes, and he was supposed to serve as the conductor of the divine orchestra. And I believe, I have a very deep feeling about this, that Joseph was reincarnated later on as Moses or Moshe to redeem the children of Israel from Egypt. We'll see later on, we're coming out to the stories that Joseph, or we used to call him Joseph, became the viceroy of Egypt. We're coming to this now. And I will continue telling the story, and we will, all the stories are relevant for today. Joseph was sold by his brothers who envied him because of his visions. His visions said that he's going to be the ruler, the king of all the tribes. They hated him. So we know the story about Joseph and the visions. He was a visionary and he knew how to solve dreams. A long time before Freud. Now before that, he solved the dreams of the two ministers of Pharaoh, and what Joseph told them came true exactly. One of them, the cupbearer, was restored to give the wine to the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and the butler who used the baker was hanged. Presumably there was some cockroach or something ugly in the loaf of bread which he gave to the kings, put him in jail. They didn't pardon him. Even presumably the minister who kept offering the wine to Pharaoh, they presumed there was a fly. When he gave it to him, there was a fly inside the wine. So for this, he spent 2 years in prison. But Pharaoh decided to pardon him and re-establish him. And the other one, he didn't pardon him, giving a loaf of bread with cockroach inside. or something like this. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile. Out of the river, there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the riverbank. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up 7 sleek fat cows. And Pharaoh woke up, fell asleep again, and had the second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good. They're going on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east wind. This wind is a wind from Sahara Desert. You know where is Egypt located? And actually, the entire of north of Africa, most of it is a Sahara Desert. Life can be only along the shore of the Mediterranean, along the Nile. The rest is horrible desert. Thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning, his mind was troubled. So he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them for him. Pharaoh dreams 2 strange dreams. All the magicians of Egypt were summoned to solve them, but no one could. That's when the chief butler remembered that Yosef was able to decipher his own dream. The chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Today I am reminded of my shortcomings. Pharaoh was once wroth with his servants, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now, a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream, and things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, the other man was hanged. So Pharaoh sent for Yosef, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Yosef, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. I cannot do it, Yosef replied to Pharaoh, but Elohim will render it. But Elohim render Pharaoh the peace he desires. So then Pharaoh said to Yosef, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile. When out of the river there came up 7 cows, fat and sleek, and they grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows came up, scrawny and very ugly and lean. I'd never seen such ugly cows in all the land of Egypt. The lean, ugly cows ate up the 7 fat cows that came up first. But even after they ate them, no one could tell that they had done so. They looked just as ugly as before. Then I woke up. In my dreams, I also saw 7 heads of grain full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads sprouted, withered and thin, and scorched by the east wind. Thin heads of grain swallowed up 7 good heads. I told this to the magicians, but none could explain it to me. Then Yosef said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. Elohim has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 good cows are 7 years. The 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one in the same dream, the 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain, scorched by the east wind. There are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh, Elohim has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt. But 7 years of famine will follow them. And all the abundance of Egypt will be forgotten. The famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered because the famine that follows it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by Elohim, the God, and Elohim will do it soon. Now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt. The country may not be ruined by the famine. Land seemed good to Pharaoh and to all of his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the spirit of Elohim? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since Elohim has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. Joseph is taken out of prison to solve Pharaoh's dreams. Pharaoh is seemingly satisfied, immediately appointed Joseph as viceroy. How does this happen so suddenly? Pharaoh still doesn't know if the prediction is correct. He had to wait and see what the truth will be. But before Pharaoh stood not Joseph, the spoiled boy, floating in the worlds of imagination, but an angel of God. After 12 years of foraging in prison under the supervision of the circle of Yahuwah Elohim, this is not the same man. This is spiritually mature and complete person who has reached the pinnacle of consciousness that a human being is capable of attaining. Cosmic consciousness. He is the embodiment of the divine idea that man will establish the image of God on earth. Yaakov is his father, rose from the level of Yaakov to the level of Israel. Israel is a God-man. God is a realized person. The story of Yaakov and Esau, his brother, they were twins. Esau gathers his army to take revenge on Yaakov. But it is not Yaakov who faces him, but Israel, the man of God. Esau actually experienced God's revelation on earth, as reflected in the person of Israel. So it was with Pharaoh who experienced, through the image of Joseph, the appearance of God in this world. Yaakov and his brother Esau were twin, and actually it all reenacted the story of Cain and Hevel, that the Cain murders Hevel or Ebel, or as it will call it, new version. And I suggested my insights Shuvava gave that these two beings are actually our 2 aspects, the physical aspect and the spiritual aspects. These 2 aspects reside within each one of us, and these 2 aspects have some kind of inner conflict. Who is going to rule? What happened when Cain, the physical man, took over? He murdered the spiritual man within us, and we became materialist people who see the human success in getting as much minerals and materials from the planet. instead of ascending on the path to godhood. And this process is happening all the time within ourselves. You should be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in a robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and men shouted before him, bow down. Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. The Pharaoh said to Joseph, I'm Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will lift hand or foot in all of Egypt. Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Sephanat Pa'aneach. Sephanat Pa'aneach is the person who deciphers the code. The Tzofen is the code. Pa'aneach is to decode, to decipher. Use it in Hebrew, but these are most likely Egyptian expressions. Many expressions are incorporated in the Bible, actually Egyptian names like Moses, Aaron, and many names are Egyptians. Many Egyptian expressions in the Hebrew language, in the Bible, in the Hebrew. It gave him Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, to be his wife. Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. Each city he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain, like the sand of the sea, was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph, Ba'athenat, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Menashe and said, it is because Elohim has made me forget all my trouble, all my father's household. Menashe, the root word is Neshia. Neshia is oblivion. So he forgot the past. Second son he named Ephraim and said, it is because Elohim has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. And Ephraim is from root word is poreh, fruitful. The Hebrew words are very important. This is because Elohim has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end. The 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all the other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt, there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, people cried to Pharaoh for food. And Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, go to Joseph and do what he tells you. And the famine had spread over the whole country. Joseph opened the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians. The famine was severe throughout Egypt. And all the countries came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was severe in all the world. Now, what happened, even the archaeology discovered at that time, that there were actually 50 years of famine all over the Middle East. and many nations perished altogether, and of course many nations came to fight with Egypt to get the food. But the Egyptian army was very strong and kept repelling all attempts. And later we'll learn the mystery. Joseph is becoming the visceral. He is in charge of the army, he's in charge of everything, he does whatever. Why doesn't take an army just to visit a platoon or a brigade or a legion or legion, as many as he wants, go to visit his father in Canaan? It's just a week travel, or less, with a chariot. He's waiting. 7 years, or 7 years. What's going on here? They're going to learn it later. It's quite incredible story. Joseph didn't spend a day in school, didn't have any degree for anything. Nobody would pass each time they want to appoint somebody for a high position, for a minister or even less, or as any public official, they make a whole search. They used to bring documents about the education, about if he has no past offenses. And here, look at this, is a boy spending 12 years in prison. Nobody will take a person from prison and appointing from day to day as a minister or a king. He became a king of Egypt. The king himself, the pharaoh, was sitting happily in his court, having a good time. He had no doubt whatsoever that Joseph is 100% reliable and he's going to do the work. Amazing story. Amazing story, touches all of humanity till these days. It's a very deep lessons for all of us. From all this. Stories of Genesis, as I had experienced. The book, which I said, you saw it, was accomplished a few weeks ago. And hopefully one day it will go to the market to know exactly how to do this. There are many deep insights which were never given before. As far as I'm concerned, people would question what's all this story about this Jewish country. You can go somewhere else. What do you want from all these Arabs? Why do you invade their land? What do you want from them? You go somewhere else. One of the Bible lovers suggested to me, you couldn't buy an island for yourself and have your own country. Why don't you buy an island? But it was Baba's decision to put the people, the Jewish people back, the people of the book, back in the homeland. The Quran said that this land belongs to the Jewish people. All the Muslims and Arabic people are going with the edicts of the Quran. That's what it's in the Quran. And it's the Quran, it's the prophets. As soon as the Quran says that Moses is true, and the book is true. And the book says that people will be expelled and come back. So if people are coming back, this revelation that the prophecies are coming to fruition. So what is it? What it is, it's about the old system of the old Advent of Muhammad, which I think, in my understanding, the humble understanding, I'm not claim to be a scholar of Islam or Buddhism or the history. It's too complicated. I'm going to spend a lifespan studying this, but I'm listening to the experts. But most likely about 200, 250 years after the advent of Muhammad, various persona, various people, scholars, etc., under the Khalif, I think the 8th or 10th Khalif, I can discover later on the internet, he decided that what is the last version of the Quran, he imposed that any person who is not Muslim, that a Jew must wear a yellow badge, and a Christian has to wear a red badge or a yellow coat or a red coat, so the people will know that he is not a Muslim because they all looked alike, all human beings. And all, most of them is the East, dark complexion, etc. How can you tell? Many people who have pink skin like me convert to Islam. Well, it was comfortable. If you convert to Islam, you didn't to pay taxes or jizya while being humiliated. You could ride a horse. If you are not a Muslim, you are not permitted to ride a horse. To ride on a donkey or something like this. It was a life of humiliation. So many people simply decided, especially the children, later on, who cares? They become Muslims and stop being humiliated. And they still do it all over many places in the Muslim world. Humiliating people who are not Muslims and claim themselves. They became some apartheid cities. The Muslims are number one, the others are number two. They're being treated differently. How can you call it? This is in the Hadith. I don't know what I never was the Quran is saying anything. Definitely the Hadith interpretations of the life of the Prophet or whatever they made up. Not sure this is the case. Anyway, Meherabad is arbitrary age. They decided wants to put the people of the book, the wandering people is in etc. to go back to the homeland. Tomorrow also actually decided to fulfill the prophecies. So they amended the prophecies. So what we can say, unfortunately, there are people who don't accept this, and they bang their heads against the wall. If the avatar makes a decision, if you go against it, they're going to suffer. Not to say what Meir told me in person, but that's unique concern about Israel. And not to say that I got the archive of the Mayor of the Center of Jerusalem, and you can see it's a special concern for his disciple. It shows his unique disciple, the daughter of first president of Orthodox Judaism. Quite an unusual story, unbelievable. And unfortunately, many people in this community of the Baulam, so-called, are vehemently against Israel because of this war, that war, what they see on the news. And there was not one single person who approached me and asked me, what do you think about this? What's going on? I would tell them. Yes, I would tell them, just leave everything to God. Leave everything to the Avatar. But I said that nothing is moving against my will. Why do you judge? Sapper said that. Keep on telling the people. You can't stop judging world events. Then you Sapper said that you will lose opportunity of this happen. The people who think the Babalavas that they have made the deal. It's all fixed. They got the train ticket to the destination. It's not true. It's not going to work with, unfortunately. See you next week, my dear.